Tuesday, January the 2nd, 2018, to you. The main story today, if I may quote Mr. John Oliver, is the ongoing protests in Iran. The largest demonstrations since the so-called Green Movement occurred after the 2009 presidential election. These protests were primarily caused by government corruption and popular dissolution. Many Iranians hoped that relief from sanctions would result in prosperity, but economic benefits have not seemed to improve the life of the average Iranian. However, as protests spread all over Iran, their scope has expanded to include political opposition to the theocratic regime. As of writing, 20 people have died as a result of protests and more than 550 have been arrested by the police. Surprisingly, the demonstrations started in Mashhad, a hard-lined stronghold, and spread to several other cities. Tehran, Iran's capital, has remained relatively calm compared to 2009. Are demonstrators right in their grievances? The end of economic sanctions stimulated Iran's economy. GDP per capita grew 12.4% in 2016 and the inflation rate dropped to 8.5% from 13.7% that year. Notwithstanding with above, unemployment remains high, 12.4%. On the other hand, Iran scored 29 out of 100 in the Corruption Perception Index 2016, ranking 131st among 176 countries. That said, I do not believe that protests should pose a threat to the regime. Of course, I may be wrong, but I do not expect Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to quit anyway. First and foremost, Iranian protests have no known leaders. Furthermore, there is no an alternative secular leadership that could contest the current regime. Even former President Mr. Mohammad Yatami, Iran's most reformist leader, pledged his support to the Islamic institutions. Therefore, Ayatollah Khamenei's leadership remains unchallenged. We must also consider that the Islamic Republic is the only political system known by most Iranians. More than half of Iran's population were born after the 1979 revolution. So rebelling against the Ayatollah is like doing so against your father. He may be a drunken dick, but he's your father anyway. Secondly, demonstrators must have the army support if they want to topple the regime. Unfortunately for them, the Revolutionary Guard seems united and committed to defend the Islamic Republic. We ignore whether the Guard is willing to squash the protests at Tiananmen. I would like to know, what is President Rouhani's role in preventing such a scenario? There is only one way the Revolutionary Guard could turn its back on the regime: that the Guard itself become the new leadership. In short, I expect Iranian protests to end as quick as they started. Ironic, isn't it? The world is still on.